Is about separating the hopeful theory from the very stringent reality.
Right. If you're following this field, there's just so much noise out there.
Precisely. So our mission today is to define the exact scope of this particular project. What are the non-negotiable criteria to even get in the door?
And what are the scientific hurdles that both the patient and the lab have to clear?
And maybe most importantly, what's the reality of the process, the timeline involved?
So we're distilling all this research down to two main things for you: the four key barriers to entry and the massive, massive time commitment required. Okay, let's unpack this.
So the first barrier, it's the most foundational one. It's the diagnosis itself.
It has to be extremely specific.
It does. The source material is, it's completely unequivocal on this. This clinical project requires a diagnosis of primary Parkinson's disease.
Right, what's often called idiopathic PD.
Exactly. That distinction, primary versus anything else, is paramount for the researchers.
So why is that so crucial? Why exclude other, related diagnoses?
It really all comes down to the underlying pathology and, frankly, predictability. A lot of people who might inquire are actually dealing with what's called Parkinson's syndrome.
Or secondary Parkinsonism.
Right. And that covers conditions where the symptoms might look like PD, but they're caused by other things, strokes, maybe drug side effects, other disorders.
Okay, so if the root cause of the tremors and the rigidity isn't that classic degradation of dopamine-producing neurons, this particular stem cell fix isn't expected to work.
It's not. The trial is designed to test a very, very specific hypothesis. If the patient's symptoms come from a different mechanism, the therapy just won't address that root cause.
And the data they collect would be useless.
It would be rendered unusable, yeah.
Yeah.
They need the purest patient cohort they can possibly get.
That makes perfect sense. But even inside that primary PD group, there's another immediate firewall, and this gets into genetics.
Yes. And what's fascinating here is how the autologous nature of the transplant creates its own barrier.
Autologous meaning from the patient's own body.
Exactly. And because of that, patients with hereditary Parkinson's disease, so those with a clear known genetic type, are explicitly excluded from this project.
Wait, okay, I have to pause on that. That seems counterintuitive. Why would you exclude people with a genetically defined disease from a personalized cutting-edge treatment?
It's all in that word, autologous. This treatment uses the patient's own cells. So they take some blood cells, they reprogram them in the lab, and then transplant them back.
Okay.
But if you have a known pathogenic gene, a gene that causes Parkinson's, every single cell they harvest from your body already carries that faulty instruction.
Yeah, actually, even if the lab does its magic and successfully turns those blood cells into the right kind of neural cells, they're still fundamentally the same genetically broken cells they started with.
You've got it. This is cellular engineering. It's not genetic engineering, not in this trial. If the stem cells themselves carry the pathogenic gene, differentiating them doesn't fix the underlying problem.
It's like trying to fix a corrupt computer program by copying the corrupted file onto a new drive. The hardware is new, but the software bug is still there.
That is a perfect analogy. For this trial, they have to isolate the variable of the procedure itself.
And they can't do that if the source material is already, compromised.
Right. Future therapies might involve gene editing before the transplant, but for now, they need the cleanest data set possible. Primary PD, but not genetically inherited PD.
That's a critical distinction. Okay, so we've cleared the biological and genetic checks. Let's move to the practical limits for enrollment, the physical restrictions.
Sure. So the trial sets both a floor and a ceiling here. First, let's talk about disease duration. If you've been diagnosed for less than 5 years,